All right, so I'll jump right in, kind of update on topics that have happened since the last time I spoke. So first, I just want to congratulate all of our guys that got into the Hall of Fame. I know our fans have been waiting, and they've been waiting for a long time, so I know the entire organization's really excited for them. Flus hit it yesterday. Excited about our coaching staff we put together moving forward. Shane and Eric and the rest of the crew, we're in good hands. They're going to do a really good job. I think Coach hit on all the topics, teachers, communicators. Shane's got a really good feel for both the run and the pass game. Ability to adapt and adjust and the things that we're looking for, so we're really pumped about that. Cody and Eddie, I know we put out a piece on them, but just want to say thank you to them for what they've done for the Bears. We felt like it was the right time to give them opportunity to go test the market, see what's out there for them. I want to do right by them and do it as early as possible so they can put their plans in place. But really thankful for their leadership and everything they brought to the organization. Jalen Johnson, in the process of getting Jalen Johnson done, conversations are going well at this time. We feel like we've done a really good job kind of coming to the table strong, showing the respect that he's due just in terms of his production through his career, and really an emphasis on the turnovers that he created this past year. Our expectation is that's going to continue to go as he's with the Bears. When I say coming strong, that means cash flows are strong, guarantees are strong. The term is strong for him. Being hit with his age, there's a really good opportunity for him to go back to the market again and continue to earn money and play well, and hopefully that's with the Bears for a long period of time. So I'm excited about that. Like I've said about those deals all the time, it takes two to tango, and you got to find a place that everyone feels comfortable with. So I feel really good about that situation. Now, the hot topic, the first pick, quarterback situation. Contrary to reports out there, I have no master plan to present to everyone today. This is an opportunity for us to continue to gather information, learn about the different players in the draft, listen to what opportunities could come up, and then at the end of the day, we're going to make the best decision that we can for the Chicago Bears. It will not be based on fear of what could happen with this and what could happen with that. We're going to put our information together and make the best decision, because at the end of the day, we'll always throw our decision-making against kind of our core kind of deal, which is win championships and sustain success for a long period of time. There's a lot that goes into that, but we're excited to gather that information and create clarity as we go along.
Right.
So,
what is your, if you decide to draft a quarterback, what is your motivation to trade Justin before free agency starts, knowing that there might be a premium on that?
Yeah, again, it just depends on what opportunities pop up. I will say this, I think you guys know me well enough now. I do, if we go down that road, I want to do right by Justin as well. No one wants to live in gray. I know that's uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to be in that situation either. So we'll gather the information. We'll move as quickly as possible. We're not going to be in a rush, and see what presents itself and what's best for the organization.
Did you talk to him? I know he made those comments last week about kind of living in limbo on this. Have you had conversations with him about where you guys are at right now in that process? Yeah,
so I've always felt, and I told him this after the season when we had our exit meetings, that transparency and communication is key in these moments, and I told him we will do that. So I've been in contact with his team and kind of let them know like what we're looking at, how things might play out, and that we'll continue to communicate as we move forward. Again, I understand how uncomfortable that is for him, but again, like I told him, and he understands. I think he said it the other day too. It's part of this business. It is a unique situation. So, but yeah, I'll continue that communication with them.
You've been part of the evaluation process in Kansas City in 2017 with Mahomes. Yep. How has that experience helped shape the way you go about evaluating quarterbacks and things you do in that regard?
Yeah, my background is I'm really fortunate to kind of see multiple phases and different types of processes put in place with bringing a quarterback in from a trade to drafting. So again, there's a process that we've learned in terms of tape watching and getting to know guys and bringing them in and spending time with them to feel comfortable with that setup. So I can definitely tap into that experience.
Right. In terms of Jalen Johnson, you said things are going well with him. Do you think it's more likely that there's a long-term deal with him than the franchise tag?
I hope so. I'd like to avoid the franchise tag for him. I think there's a really good space for us to find a middle ground. Again, we always have the tag to use, but I really would like to get something done long term with him.
Ryan, how do you view, philosophically, how do you view the draft assets you have, picking first and ninth? You would theoretically be targeting star players if you kept those picks,
Yep.
versus converting those into more picks, but they are lesser picks.
Yeah, that goes into the equation, right? I mean, you got to look at what's there in that area in terms of drafting. Again, you got to listen to the trade. Like, you don't trade back 1, trade back 2, trade back 15. Like, that changes the dynamic based on where the board is set up. I think I talked about that last year. We'll end up counting the guys in certain spaces that we feel like can be impact players for our team. So that goes in the equation as well. But I think it's a really good opportunity to improve our football team. And the other thing is, like, very open and understand that draft picks are just opportunity, right? You got to capture that. You got to be right with your draft picks. So we understand that as well.
Just on the process of evaluating the quarterbacks, obviously at the top of the draft there have been a lot of misses at the quarterback position. What have you maybe learned about what goes into making a player, a great quarterback at the next level?
Yeah, there's a lot there, right? It's like, what's the infrastructure look like? What's around the player? I think that's key, and I think that's probably messed with the numbers a lot when you're talking about the top of the draft. I think that's what makes our situation unique and why we have to really do a deep dive into it. I think the person is a huge part. I've talked about that a lot. What's the makeup, the leadership? How do they handle pressure? How do they handle pressure in a big city like ours? So a lot of those factors go in.
Ryan, I know you said you weren't going to make a big reveal today in terms of what you're doing.
I have nothing to reveal at all.
Yeah, no, I totally.
I wish I did.
Yeah, I know. That's what we. Yeah, that's what we. I totally understand that, but do you have an idea, like what's the percentage of what you think you know right now ahead of the combine? Like, how important is the combine in making the decision?
Yeah, right now it's like 100 different scenarios that you go down and try to plot out, and you're forecasting forward to see what's going to work out and probabilities and things like that. But at the end of the day, the human being part, getting to know someone, getting to know a group of people is really going to determine it. And there's going to be options that pop up all the time that you don't see coming. I think I said it last year, like, something will happen at some point in the next few months that no one expects.
Right.
So you got to be on your toes for that. So the picture will change as we go.
Well, if you trade the number one,
different mindset this year with the number 1 overall pick than what you had last year at this time?
No, I mean, it's unique, right? But I would say our approach is exactly the same in terms of we got to look at every option and determine what is best for our team. Obviously, we chose to trade back last year, and I think that helped our team out a lot. So again, we'll do a deep dive and see how it plays out.
How are you evaluating the prospects and team gathering information? Do you have any concern at all that Caleb Williams or the team around him don't want to play in Chicago?
No concerns about that at all. I would love to know why, if that was the case. Like I said, I think as a young quarterback, and I've been around it, the infrastructure is important, and I think we've made really good progress in terms of having really good infrastructure for whoever were to come in, or if Justin were to stay here as well.
In terms of your quarterback evaluation when you were in Kansas City, Cliff Kingsbury said that Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams are eerily similar. When you watch the tape, do you see that?
There's pieces that are similar. Obviously, the one that stands out to everyone is just different arm angles. That's a unique trait. Not a lot of guys can do that. I give Jeff King, who's on my team, credit. He painted a picture of, there's two types of quarterbacks. There's artists and then there's surgeons. So within that group, you can kind of see who's the artist that's really creative, doesn't draw within the lines, where there's more of surgeons who are, like your typical, like the Bradys and Peytons. So you kind of branch them out on those buckets and go from there. So that's where they're similar.
Is there a percentage you prefer with artists and surgeons?
No. Winners. Yeah.
if you do move off the number 1 pick, we've heard crazy, we've heard historic, all those adjectives used for the amount of compensation you need. What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now, but it's got to help our organization significantly to move around, because we saw what it did last year, and I'm looking for that type of return to continue to improve our football team.
When do you want to know what you're going to do?
Tomorrow.
No, in all seriousness, no. Before
No,
free agency,
I would love to know as soon as possible.
Right.
I mean, I would love to know, but I know that's not how the process works. You know, there's sure before free agency would be good. Like I said, I'm also taking, you know, if we were to do something with Justin, like I want to do right by him. And I know, again, living in that gray space, you would want to do something sooner rather than later. But just like I talk about with contracts, it takes 2 teams to figure that out. But at the same time, we're also trying to figure out the draft process as well. So there's a lot of different things with different timelines going, and that's what makes it a little
Ryan,
bit
as
difficult.
part of your process over the next 6 weeks, what do you see as the best ways for you to evaluate the wiring of quarterbacks? What do you like to do to learn who they are?
Yeah, spend time. Spend time. That's, I mean, right, any type of relationship, you know, it's time on task and just kind of getting to know the personality. There's been a ton of information gathering from my team just in terms of teammates, coaches, things like that. But you got to spend time with another person to really understand the wiring.
What are you trying to feel out in that process? What are you looking for from that position?
Yeah, you look for examples of dependability. You're looking selflessness, leadership, ownership. You know, like I think it's hard these days to find people that, you know, hey, this is wrong, and it's like, yeah, it was wrong. This is what I have to do to correct it, rather than just kind of BSing your way through it. So, yeah, with time on task and spending time with these guys, you'll get to know some of those things.
So are you expecting a busier combine than usual? Like, I'm imagining you're going to be a pretty popular guy this week. Everybody wants to buy you dinner and talk about all these different assets that you might trade. I mean, is it going to be a different combine for you?
Yeah, it feels that way. Yeah.
Has it already started?
Oh yeah, my phone won't stop.
How aggressive are people with fishing for information from other teams to see what you want to do with that?
Yeah, it's, you know, it starts slow. We were at the Senior Bowl. I know people are kind of poking around. I haven't had like big time conversations with anyone, but everyone wants to, you know, take a temperature of what's going on.
So every time someone approaches you.
Yeah.
How would you say last year's trade worked out for you guys, for the Panthers, and even Houston that didn't get the #1 pick?
Yeah, I'll only comment on us. I thought it worked out really well. Just adding 2 good players like Darnell and DJ. Had no idea this would work out where it would be the first overall pick, but I would say that's successful. And then, you know, a future 2 as well. So it worked out well for us, and we'll keep growing off of that.
You know how universally loved Justin is by this team. Have you thought about what that conversation is going to be like if you do trade and what you're going to, like, delivering that message to the team?
Yeah, you know, he's a leader. Everything our guys have said is true, and not surprised our guys have said what they have said. I feel the same way, and I think sometimes this whole thing gets, you know, Justin versus another person, and I have to look at it a little bit differently. I take that into effect. That's why the person is so important when we evaluate other people that would come in that position. But also, it's my job to think of the long term, and a lot of our guys kind of don't see that. That's not their job to do that, and they defend their guy, which I think speaks volumes about our culture in our locker room.
I mean, you've made big trades before. Would that cause is there anxiety that comes with that for someone who would have to deliver that sort of news?
No, because I have faith in our ability to communicate with our guys, and when we do that, I think they'll know that it's in the best interest of the team, and I think as we've moved along here, I think the trust factor is there, that they're in good hands with however we decide to kind of play.
Timeline-wise, for the college quarterbacks, do you really need to get all the way to private workouts, bringing them into the building to know, and how would that impact your decision with Justin?
Yeah, so, you know, again, there's a lot of different timelines going, so being creative with finding time to spend with the different prospects, and if we can get a private workout, things like that does help come to conclusion and kind of fill in all the boxes that should be filled in.
If you identify a quarterback prospect as your guy, is there any price that can move you off of your guy?
Would it be our guy, right? Like it's not about me at all. That's hard to answer right now because I need kind of the whole puzzle put together to figure that out.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Thank you.